Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar series 2 for 2026, Strengthening Food Systems Amid Global Conflict and Ecological Pressures. Global conflicts and climate change are placing increasingly pressure on food systems by disrupting the supply chains, raising production cost, and reducing agricultural productivity. These challenges threaten food security and nutrition, particularly among vulnerable communities in developing regions, particularly in Mindanao. This second webinar for 2026 will focus on geopolitical conflicts and its impact on rising energy and food prices and climate pressures. It's organized by SDG2 Zero Hunger Project of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines and is led by Xavier University-Ateneo de Cagayan and Xavier Science Foundation, together with Ateneo de Manila University, Ateneo de Davao University, Father Leoni Mission Foundation, and in cooperation with SDSN Youth Philippines. This webinar brings together experts and stakeholders to discuss these emerging issues and identify practical strategies that strengthen food security, nutrition, and community resilience. My friends, this afternoon, we will have three key resource persons discussing the global dynamics and food systems with Asian situationer, implications of the global dynamics of the Philippines in food systems, and implication of the global dynamics in the food systems. We also have reactions in the form of reels from Xavier Science Foundation and Pangantukan Community High School, Ateneo Student Unit from Ateneo de Davao University, and Blue Harvest Farmers Market of Ateneo de Manila University. But friends, before moving forward, we would like to remind everyone to observe the following etiquette. Okay? To please indicate your name and institution in the Zoom using the following format. You can see it on your screen. And to ensure that your audio is always put into mute. And later, to feel free to use the chat box if you have questions or comments. Before moving forward, let's have the opening prayer.
We wish to enter into silence and fill the silence with prayer. O one God of all nations, you created the earth and the cosmos in their differences, beauty and frailty. The diversity of cultures and religions seek you, the origin of all things. You want all to be for each other, not a threat, but a blessing. Our one world should be, by your will, a peaceful and habitable home. You created us all in your own image and likeness. We are your image. In all those that seek you in truth, you have inspired hunger and thirst for justice and a desire for peace. Awaken in all the religions and in the peoples of today that they should be instruments and messengers of a better, more loving world. Amen.
Okay, thank you very much. And once again, good afternoon, everyone. Are we all excited to listen to our resource persons? This afternoon is actually a full pack of discussion, and I hope we all learn from this discussion. And once again, I'm going to remind everyone to please ensure that your microphone are in mute. And if you're going to have some clarification and comments, please maximize the chat box. We're also live on YouTube. So for those listening, viewing on YouTube, please also use the comment section to drop your clarifications and comments, and we will address them all after all the presentations and discussion. Okay, to start with, for this afternoon session, we have first speaker to discuss the global dynamics and food system in with Asian situationer. We have Dr. Lionel M. Dabadi. He is the FAO representative in the Philippines. He holds advanced degree in aquaculture and agronomy and has over 35 years of international experience at the intersection of science, policy, and development. His career spans research, fieldwork, and policy with expertise in fisheries, aquaculture, rural development, and climate resilient agriculture. A strong advocate for integrating rural Filipino realities into global agendas, he served in the Philippines for over 8 years since 2005. In the Philippines, he oversees the FAO's diverse programs, from supporting smallholders and climate-smart innovation to strengthening food security and nutrition. He also guides policy alignment with national priorities and with the UN framework, advancing FAO's vision of better production, better nutrition, and better environment, and a better life, leaving no one behind. Friends, let's all give a virtual warm applause for Dr. Lionel M. Dabadi.
Magandang hapon sa
Magandang
ating
hapon
lahat.
po, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start sharing my screen. It worked during the rehearsal, so hopefully it will work now. And I put it in the yes, and I think it's not working. So I will just now it should be working, correct? If you can give me a sign. Ah, I
Yes,
think
it's working well, sir.
okay, thank you very much. So good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for inviting me to make these presentations on the global dynamics and agri-food systems with the Asian situationer. So let me first start very quickly. This may be a question of vocabulary, but in FAO, unlike in the UN, we are part of the UN, but we are not using exactly the same vocabulary. The UN is using the food systems because the food system summit. In FAO, we always use the word agri-food systems. The reason is that the farmers, and our mandate is really to work with the farmers. We are not a food organization. We are the food and agriculture organizations. So we are working with the farmers, and the farmers are producing food, which is essential and critical for us, but they are producing much more than food. They are also producing non-food products like bamboo, like abaca, and others. And they are also delivering so much. I put these pictures of the Ifugao rice terraces because I saw recently a few days ago that there were concerns because the rice terraces were destroyed. Let's be frank, if there is no farmers, there is no rice terraces. The farmers are the one who are building this landscape, and they are the one who are maintaining it. So definitely we need to understand that farmers are producing much more than food. And that's the reason why to insist on this, we use the word agri-food system. Like this, we really focus the whole diversity of what the farmers are doing. So let me go straight to the topic. You will see a QR code here on the right hand side of my slide. It's because last week FAO and OECD have released their latest edition of the OECD FAO Agricultural Outlook 2026-2035. My presentation is already very long, and you will see I will have to speak very quickly on some slides because there are too many things. But I really encourage you to download it. So you have the QR code, and let me also quickly put it on the chat. You may see you have the link also on the chat. There is a lot of information and much more than what I can present during this edition. Very quickly, if we look at two macro indicators, the populations and the food production by agriculture, the population is expected to increase from approximately 8.2 billion people to 8.8 billion people in the 10 years, bringing us to 2035. That's a projected growth of the populations of about 0.8% per year. And the OECD and FAO see an increase of the agricultural production of about 13.3% in value from $3.5 trillion to approximately $4.01 trillion. So basically, we can see that the output will grow, but it will not all grow dramatically faster than the demand, because we should not forget that the demand is not just the population growth. It's the population growth, of course, because we need to feed more people. But there are already some people who are not fed today. The people who are suffering from hunger, and we need also to increase the productions to make sure that not only we feed the new people who are coming to the planet, but also the people who today are not fed. So that's a double challenge, and we can see that the challenge we are very is quite tough for us to accompany. And of course, because I tap on the chat now, okay, that's it. So the production will continue to grow, but it will not grow evenly everywhere. If you look, for example, by sector, definitely we are looking for more growth in the livestock sector, where there is a high demand right now coming up. The crops and the aquatic food are a little bit lower, but still increasing for around more than 10% over the next 10 years. If we look at where the production will be, it will be mostly in the middle income countries. We will be representing 80.3 of the global output growth. The Asia Pacific also is going to represent almost 60% of the global output growth. Unfortunately, in sub-Saharan Africa, where we know that there is a huge need for food, the production will be relatively limited. The share in the global output growth will be very limited. So a very uneven growth despite the needs. I need to use the... Okay. The cereal, of course, they will remain the backbone of the global crop productions. The maize, 1.4 billion tons, the wheat, 877 million tons, the rice, 600 million tons, and sugar. And if you look, you can see that Asia, particularly India and China, have a big role to play on many of those cereals. But as I told you, meat needs to increase about 43 million tons over the period over the decade. In particular with milk. I will speak a little bit later when I speak about the situation in Asia, the situation that, you know, for example, Philippines is importing 98%. It was 99 a few years back, but now according to NDA, it's importing 98% of its milk consumption, and the objective is really to increase and reach maybe 5% of self-sufficiency. So there is a huge demand on increasing the livestock and dairy productions, with beef, which may reach about 82 million ton carcass weight equivalent, sheep meat, 22 million ton, the pig meat, which is going to represent about 13% of the global meat production. And this is, of course, coming with challenges, particularly, you know, when it comes to livestock and dairy. Our biggest challenge today is the biosecurity and the animal disease. We have seen part of the crisis that we have seen in the past few years, like the COVID. We have seen that the disease are all interconnected between the human, the environment, and the animal production. And it is a challenge. So the biosecurity and animal disease is going to be a challenge for increasing the production, but also for our global well-being. Aquatic food, we should not forget. Our latest SOFIA is the state of fisheries and aquaculture, the state of the world fisheries and aquaculture, foresees that by we will need we will need to produce we are producing 35 million tons today. Mostly aquatic animals, 195 million metric ton aquatic animals and 40 million ton algae. And today, you know that the situations in aquatic food is that the capture fisheries have been relatively plateauing. They have not been relatively, they have been completely plateauing around 90 million tons since the 1990s. So for the last 30 years, there has been no increase from capture fisheries. And all the increase in demand has come from aquaculture. Aquaculture is the sector that has grown the fastest. And today it is representing more than half, 52% of the aquatic animal production. Asia is, as you know, is the main producer. Okay, let's speak a little bit. We're talking about crises. We're talking about productions. The main growth of this production, according to the forecast of the OECD FAO, will not come from increasing the surface. You know, the cultivated, the farming area, the farming land. We know that we have already reached a lot of the land available. So we need to make a better use of the lands that is already used, because 73% of the increase in the production will come from yield improvements. It will not come from expanding and going into more land use. So that's really important. At the same time, we should not forget that even if agriculture is one of the most impacted sector by climate change, it is also a major contributor to climate change. And the increase in projection in the production that is foreseen until 2035 will also be accompanied by an increase in the greenhouse gas emissions by 6.5% by the agriculture sector. So we are, you know, we always say we are part of the problem, but we are also part of the solution. So this is definitely something that we need to be careful, particularly when we talk about livestock, which will represent for 76% of the increase, but also the fertilizers, which will contribute 22% of the increase. There is also a social dimension. We need to be careful because there is a significant risk, you know, that agriculture income per worker in 2035 will be at least 12% below the baseline. So definitely we need to consider the social dimension of the agriculture. I mentioned at the beginning, we need to feed the growing population, but we also need the people who are hungry today. Since we are talking about SDG2, let's be honest, SDG2 will not be achieved by 2035. We are completely off track, and definitely there is still a lot to be done. Today, or at least in 2024, there were 673 million people facing hunger globally. That makes a global prevalence of undernourishment of 8.2% of the populations. Almost 1% out of 10 is suffering from hunger. That's completely unacceptable. And even though we have, you can see on the graph that there has been a decrease. You can, you know, every year we see some decrease by approximately 0.2 or 0.3% of the global prevalence of undernourishment. The projection by 2030, which is the target for the SDG2 or for the SDGs and particular SDG2, is that we will be reaching 6% of prevalence, meaning that still 512 million people will be chronically undernourished as per the projection. This is just unacceptable, and we need to really continue our effort, and probably we need to accelerate our effort to solve this issue. Besides this issue of people who are hungry, we are also facing another challenge that I will be detailing a little bit more later, but we need to be careful about what that is the healthy diet. You know, we have a lot of people who are not hungry, they are not facing acute hunger, but they cannot afford a healthy diet, and they are eating unhealthy, which is creating a major cost for the people, a major cost for the societies. And today you can see that about 2.6 billion, I'm really talking about billion people around the planet are not able to afford a healthy diet. And these figures, even though it is improving also over the years, it's still improving too slowly. 2.6 billion is just impossible. 1% out of 4 cannot afford a healthy diet. What are the causes of this hunger, and the reason why we cannot achieve the SDG2? The main cause, of course, is conflict and insecurity. And fortunately, in the region, for now, we are not facing this situation. But in the world, where we have almost 150 million people who are into acute food insecurity because of conflict and insecurity. But besides this, we have other source of vulnerabilities, which are threats for the region, for the Asia Pacific, particularly the weather and the economic shocks, such as the one we have just seen recently and that were mentioned in the introductions. You know, altogether we have more than 110 million people who are facing this problem of weather and economic shock. And I think that for regions like Asia, and particularly for middle-income countries like the Philippines, this is definitely something that we want to tackle to make sure that the country, even though it is exposed to this risk, it does not go back into the poverty and the hunger. So we have seen a lot of shocks. You know, this is a message that FAO has been now repeating repeatedly during all events. We had the COVID-19, we had the Ukraine war, we had the Red Sea crisis, we had the Strait of Hormuz crisis. We have also the typhoon and El Nino. You know, the shocks. Okay, there is shocks. There is a lot of crises, but every time we identify the same vulnerability. So maybe it's time now that we learn from our experience and we start activating. We cannot just wait for a crisis to come and reveal the same vulnerabilities of our agri-food systems and just solve the problem after the shocks and then wait for the new crisis. Definitely, we need to put in place and we need to invest into the resilience, and we need to learn from our experience. Let's focus a little bit on the Asia, for the Asian situation. I mentioned about the increase in food production that is expected until 2035. And as I already mentioned also in one of my previous slides, 57.5% of this additional global output by 2035 will come from Asia and the Pacific. This is a major area, and it will come mostly from India, from China, and from Southeast Asia. So there is a major challenge for Asia. Agriculture should definitely be a priority for all Asian countries. Aquatic food in particular, we know that with the production of 16 million tons and 90% of the productions projected to be consumed by human consumptions, with Asia contributing 90%, already 90% of the aquatic food production, that's definitely something that we need to tackle. So Asia is contributing 90% of the aquaculture globally, and 72% of the aquatic animal productions when we include boost fisheries and capture fisheries. The trade is also something that is expected to increase dramatically, the trade in aquatic animal foods, with exports increasing by 49%, import by 44%, and consumption by 75%. When it comes to the crops, with no surprise, of course, rice is the signature crop for Asia. Most of the five largest Asian producers will account for the 2/3 of the global production. India 28%, China 25%, Indonesia 6%, Vietnam 5%, Thailand 4%. But Asia is also very present in other crops. With 16% and 15%, 16% for China on wheat and 50% for India, with 23% on maize, and for other crops, India 7%. So definitely you see the position of Asia on the crops, and particularly on rice, is major on the global stage. For livestock, I already mentioned it earlier. Definitely, more than half of the global meat production increase is expected in Asia. And for milk, it's going to be mostly India will be driving the production. However, we know that the Asia Pacific food security is improving, but still remains exposed. We always think about Africa as the continent of the people who are hungry, but actually, even though the situation has been improving dramatically in Asia, Asia still hosts more people facing hunger than Africa today, with 323 million in Asia and 307 million in Africa. So definitely, the hunger is not yet a story of the past for the Asia and the Pacifics, and we have 6.4% of undernourishment in the regions. And out of those people, 227 million people are undernourished in Southern Asia. When it comes to nutrition, that's also another challenge for Asia, with regional prevalence of child stunting of 24.4%, which is higher than the global average of 23.2%, with child wasting of 8.9%. But also on the other side of the nutrition challenge, 9.1% of adult obesity. Just for information, in the year 2000, so 26 years ago, this prevalence of adult obesity was only 2.7%. So you can see a dramatic increase in 26 years in obesity, and this is definitely a challenge that we need to tackle. 33.8% anemia in women. So definitely, there is a big challenge for Asia Pacific with regards to malnutrition, in all the dimensions, in the undernutrition, in the micronutrient deficiency, in the rising obesity risk, and also, as I mentioned earlier, in the affordability challenge. If we look at the cost of a healthy diet, you know that in the Asia Pacific, for example, it's 4.7 PPP dollar per day versus 4.46 dollar per day on average in the world. And with the highest in the Eastern Asia with $5.95 per day. So food security is really not only the availability, it's also the cost. Because if you produce food but the people cannot buy food, that's definitely the challenge. This, you know, I'm not just talking about ethical dimensions of nutrition and malnutrition and overnutrition. I'm also talking in terms of cost. You know, many people, you know, when we talk about campaigning about good health, campaigning about better nutrition, people think we are just making a goodwill. So that's the reason why FAO and in partnership with the World Bank, we have made a study to really assess what is the cost of unhealthy diets. Let's be frank, if the people are dying because of unhealthy diet, and we have seen that in the Philippines, there has been an increase, a dramatic increase in the what we call the non-communicable diseases. That is to say, all those diseases that largely that for which the poor nutrition can have an impact. This has a cost. It has a cost because we need to pay for the hospital. We need to pay for the people who are sick, but we need also when if the people are dying young, then all the investment that has been done in education, in job creation, etc., is lost by the country. So beyond the moral, you know, and the tragedy, the moral issue of the tragedies for the families and for the people of those unhealthy diet, there is also an economic cost. And we have calculated, because sometimes the people, they understand better when we're talking about cost than when we are talking about ethics or moral. We have estimated that globally, the cost of unhealthy diets is about approximately 7% of the global GDP. In the Philippines, it's even higher. It's 8% of the global, of the national GDP that is lost due to unhealthy diet. So definitely it's something that we want to highlight. You know, we are not talking, when we are talking about healthy diet and cost of healthy diet and accessibility of healthy diet, we are not just talking about, you know, about making good things. We are really talking about a major economic challenge for the countries. I mentioned about you know the leadership and the governance, and particularly the importance of resilience. Asia Pacific, it's not about you know, the question is not about whether Asia Pacific can or needs to produce more. Yes, we need to produce more, and Asia Pacific can produce more. Definitely, there is a capacity to produce more, particularly now with many states becoming upper middle income countries. But the question is how we can produce more sustainably and more reliably. We cannot, you know, we need to get increased productivities. We need to have yield gains. But we need also to challenge the problems of the greenhouse gas emission, particularly on livestock. And also we know that rice is a major source of greenhouse gas emissions. So definitely we need to tackle this issue. And I think we need to we really need to build on resilience. The countries cannot be you know, stopped every time there is an energy, a fertilizers, a climate, or a trade disruptions. This happened. Now this is the new normal. Crises are happening all the time, and more frequently. It's not just one crisis. Right now, you know, we just had the fertilizer and fuel crisis, and we have also the El Nino, and we also have the typhoons. Everything is colliding and compounding the effects. So we need to tackle those elements, and we need to make the countries less resilient to those vulnerabilities. Asia Pacific is climate exposed. Yes, we all know that, but it is also central to the mitigation challenges. With 43% of the GHG emissions by the agri-food systems, 7.1 gigatons emissions of for the agri-food emission, yes, for the CO2 equivalent agri-food emissions, increase of 53% of the emissions since 2001. And 52% from farm gate activities. Mitigation at the same time potential is huge, is very large. There is an estimate that the Asia-Pacific mitigation potential from agriculture, but also from forestry and better land use, is estimated at 4.8 gigaton equivalent carbon per year. Rice is a strategic entry point alongside the livestock. Now, if we look at the vulnerabilities, I will not speak too long about this because we should definitely, if we want to tackle this, we need to go into more detail. But definitely, the situation, the vulnerabilities in Southern Asia, in Southeast Asia, in the Pacific Island, and in East and Southeast Asia, they are not the same. So there is no one size fits all solution. Every region, but also every country, and inside the country, every region in the country needs to have their own solution. I will pass this slide because of the time. But another characteristic that we need to take into consideration is the fact that Asian agriculture is mostly made of small producers, and this means that the people are facing very particular. Half of the agricultural land in Asia is being managed by small producers. So this has consequences in terms of vulnerabilities, but also in terms of opportunities. And definitely when we tackle the policies and the solutions, we need to tackle these dimensions of the smallholders in Asia and their important role. A big challenge that is being considered in Asia is the land degradation. It is definitely something that we need to improve better. We need to take into consideration the issues of soil erosions, of nutrient depletions, of soil organic carbon. We need to consider also the drivers like deforestation, the monocropping, the poor irrigation practices. And we need also to take into consideration some challenges such as the water scarcity, particularly in years like this year with El Nino, that we need to consider these challenges. Many times, if we consider the Philippines, for example, the Philippines is blessed with a lot of rains. Sometimes, of course, it's an issue, but overall, the Philippines is receiving a lot of fresh water, but most of this fresh water is lost due to a poor use of the resources, and many islands, particularly, are facing challenge of over extractions of water. So we need to tackle this issue, and the land degradation issue is not specific to the Philippines. It's really something that is that is covering the whole Asia region. We need also to tackle the blue transformation. I could speak for hours on the blue transformation. The blue transformation, it means that we need to produce in Central Pacific, for example, only 55.1% of the fish stocks are in good situation. So definitely, that's definitely not something that is satisfying. And the SDG 14, for example, the countries are performing very badly. SDG 14 is about avoiding overfishing, and we are performing very, very badly. And the third dimension of what we call the blue transformation, so sustainable aquaculture, fishery stocks, and it's also to improve the value chains. For example, the food loss and food waste, it's too much. We are losing 30% of the production. For example, if the 30% of the food that we lose because of the food waste and the food losses we were able to improve it a little bit, we could imagine the number of the millions of people around the globe we could be feeding. So that's the three dimension. Also, that last week on July 1st, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam they graduated to the upper middle income country ranking in the World Bank classification. This is going to change a lot of things. It's not just a change of category. It has consequences in terms of fiscal space, in terms of ODA and grant availability. Definitely, the countries will have less grants from ODAs and from donors, but at the same time, it's an opportunity because you will have access to concessional finance and loans at a much better conditions with a huge amount of money that will be available. But of course, as always, there is the trap of the debt trap. And if the investment and if these opportunities are not taken well enough, there might be also consequences for the nation. So definitely, humic status is not the end of the development. out of the development needs, but it's the beginning of a new phases with new tools, with new opportunities, but also new risk coming out. The financing gap, we know, and we all see in the news that now the donor countries, they are reducing their contributions, both in terms of grant, but also in terms of loan. So this is something that is challenging, and that is going to be challenging, particularly for the countries that are graduating right now to the upper middle income countries. What we are doing at FAO is that we definitely believe that if we want to be helping the Philippines and helping the countries in general, we need to support bankable investment. You know, many times the people, they think that if they have a good idea is good enough for development. But no, a good idea is not making good development. What is making good development is really a bankable investment that has the impact it is expecting. So we have a program which we are implementing here in the Philippines in partnership with ADB and the Department of Agriculture, which we call the Hand in Hand initiative. This Hand in Hand initiative really, it's ready to support the countries in making the best use of the new financing opportunities by providing, you know, the evidence that is needed, by targeting the investment proposals, by building the capacities, and that's where we have been partnering and making a very useful investment case development with ADB. FAO is bringing the capacity, you know, on developing an investment case with the institutional donors, and ADB has been supporting us on developing investment case for the private sector. So that's what we have, and then we are organizing matchmaking events with investors at different scales. So again, I don't have time, but one example that we have is for this matchmaking solution, matchmaking opportunities for investment is our annual event in FAO headquarters during the World Food Week in Rome. Here again, you have a QR code. Which you can use if you want to download the investment proposals that the Philippines have made, and you will see that over the years. So the Philippines has already been participating in 2024, 2025, and will be participating this year in 2026. And you will see that there is a dramatic improvement in the quality of the proposals that the Philippines is submitting. Okay, so we are working, you know, I believe that one of the solutions today also, if we want to support the countries in tackling the challenge that they are facing in terms of investment and accessing, is really that we should not work in isolations. You know, FAO is not competing with other agencies or ADB or other. We need to team together, and definitely we have a very successful partnership with ADB. You know that ADB is investing a lot now on food system transformation. So I'm using food system because ADB is using the term food system. So ADB is investing a lot on food system, and you can see this quote from Senior Director Kim Feng. The future of food systems will be shaped not by the plants alone, but by investments that reach farmers, reduce cost, and build resilience in an increasingly uncertain world. And we are bringing together, you know, at the same time, the ADB expertise on lending, guarantees, concessional, and climate finance, and FAO is bringing its technical expertise, and together we are really providing support for these elements. So this is, for example, an example, I will not detail, but this is an example of the proposals that the Department of Agriculture has developed for this year, for 2026, with the support of both FAO and ADB. And also we have been supporting the Bangsamoro Autonomous Regions of Muslim Mindanao on developing also some investment proposals. What I can say is that we have 5 priorities that are emerging for the agri-food system transformation, given this global, regional, and national challenges and the crises that are coming. First, we should not forget that we must use timely disaggregated data. If we don't have the data, we cannot do anything. And I was reading, I'm just arriving from Mindanao, and in the plane, I was reading an article that was just developed by our chief scientist at FAO about the use of artificial intelligence. We know that right now everybody is fighting on artificial intelligence and trying to aggregate data, and everybody is hunting for data. But we should not forget that quality data, if we want to have artificial intelligence and mobilize artificial intelligence in support to our objective to defeat hunger and to create wealthy rural community in the ecosystem, we have been using the natural productivities in an abusive manner, and today we are paying the cost because the soils are becoming less productive, because the pests and disease are emerging and increasing. So definitely that's a challenge. We need to restore the productive base and make sure that we enter into sustainable practices. Third, we need to build a climate resilient production. And I think we have good conditions. We have all the tools. So definitely it's about the political willingness to implement it. We need to improve the healthy diet affordability because this is challenging. And second and fifth, we need to strengthen the regional cooperation because, I was mentioning that it is no longer possible that, for example, FAO and ADB, we work in silos. We need to partner and we will need to work together and we need to work with other agencies. But it's the same for the countries. The country, when we are talking about the crisis on fertilizers, if every country goes on its own and with no coordination, all countries will be losing. There will be no win-win. The win-win will only come from regional cooperation. And finally, the strengthening the agri-food system means that we need to protect the people. We should not forget the people. The Sheila was very kind at the beginning to remember the four betters of FAO. The four betters of FAO is better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better lives, leaving no one behind. So people are the core of our mandate. We need to protect the nature, and we need also to protect the stability. The central message is simple, and this will be my concluding message. Agri-food system resilience must be built before the next crisis. Let's not wait for the next crisis. We should not be improvising after the next crisis, again, because that's what we have been doing too much. So that's definitely something. It's time now to invest in resilience, and I think we have all the tools to do that. So thank you very much. Maming salamat po, and back to you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Dabadino. That's so much information in 30 minutes of your presentation. And thank you very much because that short presentation gave us actually an understanding or a deeper understanding on what's the situation of our food systems or agri-food system, as you say, from the global perspective down to the Philippine perspective. And thank you very much. And I would like to highlight also what you've said that there's so much problem around us and we are part of the problem. As you mentioned towards the end of your talk, that people and nature cannot really go away from each other. So we have to strengthen collaboration. We have to be more responsible in terms of production. And at the same time, as we are part of the problem, we are also part of the solution. So thank you very much, Dr. Lionel Dabadi. So, my friends, I'm sure you're all like me that we have so many questions and comments, and even you wanted to give your feedback also. Our chat box is open. So feel free to drop your messages. And those watching via YouTube, please feel free to drop in your comments. And we will address all your comments after all the presentation. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Dabadi. Okay, so let's move on to our next presentation. Okay, we have our second topic on the implications of global dynamics in the for the Philippines on food systems. We have here Dr. Roylano M. Briones. a, a senior research fellow from Philippine Institute for Development Studies, where he conducts policy research for the Philippine government with specialization in agriculture. He has authored numerous published research papers and co-edited 5 books on irrigation policy, on the economics of agriculture and natural resources, rural development, food security, international trade, and the macroeconomy. He is a board member of the consultancy group Brain Trust Incorporated, the past board member of the Philippine Economic Society, as well as fellow of the Foundation for Economic Freedom. In 2017, he was a University of the Philippines Los Baños College of Economics and Management Outstanding Alumnus for Economics and Public Policy. Previously, he was an assistant professor at the Ateneo de Manila University and University of the Philippines in Los Baños. He obtained his PhD from UP School of Economics in 2000 and did postdoctoral research at the World Fish Center in Penang, Malaysia. My friends, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Dr. Rowellano Briones, sorry for that one, with a warm virtual applause. Dr. Briones?
Yes, thank you, Sheila. Good afternoon, and thank you also to Xavier University for inviting me to this webinar. So I'm coming on the heels of the excellent talk by Lionel. I was worried that there would be considerable overlaps between our presentations, but I think, as we can see, I'll actually zero in on a few aspects that you, because of the richness of the information you presented, you could not actually probe in some of them. Be that as it may, we'll be looking at global dynamics as it relates to Philippines, latest trends and outlooks, some of the government responses, and the underlying problem and critical responses. So everybody knows about this current situation. This is we've seen it. There was a bill shock whenever we want to fill up our motor vehicles with petrol, diesel, and this is last Monday, I think, when we looked at this data on the movement of ships through the Ship of Hormuz. It's still 21% of daily weight in tonnage in terms of cargo, and also severely restricted number of ships, something like 45% of the typical total are able to squeeze through. There have been some progress about the peace situation, the ceasefire situation there, but it seems like every day it's very fluid. So the upshot is there's restricted flow of oil and other food products through that critical choke point. And as we can see, this also affects, as we will see later, this will also affect the amount of fertilizer supply. Now, so while that is still in the news, I'd like to highlight something quite scary, which is the El Nino phenomenon. It's now been rated an 80% likelihood by the World Meteorological Organization of an El Nino event. Right now, it's happening right now until August. And above 90% that this will continue until November 2026, and also high probability that it will continue up to 2027. Now, the development actually of the Iran-US-Israel conflict actually led to this dramatic increase in key fertilizer prices, urea. The last time we saw this was when the Black Sea was shut down, around this time when there was war, which is still ongoing, between Russia and Ukraine. So when that initial blockage was eased, then we saw those urea prices normalize, but then eventually they spiked again with this recent conflict. But recently, because of some on-off ceasefire developments, there has also been some normalization of the fertilizer. Now, of course, it's not just because of that ceasefire situation. Many other countries also have some fertilizers in storage, in reserves, such as China, and they've been drawing these downs. So they have actually worked to restrict the spike. So instead of seeing those almost $900 per ton of urea, you're back to more normal levels of about a little more than 400 or between $400 to $500 per ton. For a while there, we were worried that the situation in the conflict would cause world prices of rice, the key food staple for the Philippines, to rise again. The last time this happened, which was around this time, it caused a very high increase in rice prices in the Philippines. So actually, when this is independent of that conflict, right? This is actually due to the export restriction of India. When India relieved its export restriction, then actually world prices again for rice began to normalize. But recently, it's still not abnormally high, didn't reach those peaks, but it's showing some initial signals of an increase. And how much worse it might be is something that we need some deeper analysis to understand, because it's not just the conflict situation, there's also the climate situation, the El Nino that I mentioned a while ago. So El Nino, well, just to shortcut the extended technical discussion of what it's all about, some warming element in the Pacific Ocean, it will actually cause some heterogeneous effects worldwide. So, for instance, if you look at the patterns of precipitation that is in this map, the brownish hue is below normal precipitation, and then the greenish hue is above normal precipitation, and the degree of shade tells you how much above or below normal. So using this map from World Bank's Climate Knowledge Portal, Philippines is right there in the prediction of below normal precipitation on the latter part of this year, and this is an effect directly related to the El Nino phenomenon. So it's the potential risks are rainfall deficits in certain areas, heat waves, irrigation challenges, and greater variability of typhoons. So on the one hand, that could be good. On the other hand, it could be bad. It could be a signal some increased incidence of super typhoons. We really don't know. It's just that what we can confidently say is probably more variable. According to an ERI market outlook, this 2026, once these El Nino forecasts became a bit more firmed up, they noted that scale of production effects is actually it will depends, no? So it doesn't say, okay, we'll suffer another crisis. They didn't really say that. It will depend on how well rice systems are prepared and managed in the face of this forecasted El Nino. One of the bright spots is that the stock-to-use ratio. So there are lots of stocks of rice in the world. If you get the total quantity of world rice stocks divided by the total estimated utilization of by FAO worldwide, it's about 36%. So in other words, at our current rate of utilization, we'll be able to and no rice production, the world can still use a little more than 4 months of a year with the current stocks they're using, even without any new harvests of rice. That's what the number means. So now, of course, that seems to be a positive development. They do warn that production risks are building. So how risky it will get, or whether these risks will really materialize, we really don't know. they don't really forecast a near-term market pattern like a 2023 level of rice price spike, let alone say 2008 level, the last time the world saw really a vertigo-inducing, like nearly $1,000 per metric ton of rice. We're not seeing that. At least the eerie outlook is not seeing that. However, to be able to ensure that the feared price spikes will not really materialize, we really need to deal with the situation in elevated fertilizer and fuel costs. So again, going back to the conflict situation, the sooner it can be addressed, and then the flow of fertilizers and fuel be normalized, the lower the risk that we might face in a food market shock. This is an analysis based on a model by myself published in Asian Journal of Development. This slide deck can be shared. The basic model is in the paper in the journal, but I used that model to run a little bit additional scenarios where I looked at abnormal supply situation and normal supply situation. There are lots of things going on. I assessed various scenarios, but I think what's more interesting is just focus on this bar. So here on the right-hand side, I have under a more or less regular policy scenario where I assume that the government has its tariff scheme now for rice, and the forecast under normal supply conditions is actually 19.2 million tons palay output. But if we apply similar shock as the last time we suffered a severe El Nino in Philippines, even more severe than the 2015-2016 episode, was the 1997-98 episode, coinciding with the Asian financial crisis that time. We apply that to current levels of rice production, I get a figure of 17.5 million tons under the same policy. Now, if we have zero tariffs, so government is afraid that we'll have another rice price spike. So suppose they just drop all tariffs. Well, that will suppress a little bit of local price production, so that the paddy harvest will be 18.5 million tons. But if you hit it with an El Nino, if you hit the country with an El Nino shock, it might go all the way down to 16.8 million tons. Of course, this is not a response of policy. The response of markets to this under the liberalized rice importation scenario is from a forecast of 4.29 million tons under official tariff policy, and normal supply, that's 4.29 million tons imports, rises to 5.7 million tons imports. Assuming, of course, the world rice market remains under fairly normal conditions. Then, of course, similar, so this is about a, 1 point something million ton increase, 1.4 million ton increase. And you'll get an even larger increase under a zero tariff regime if the Philippine policy decides to just drop all tariffs because of this looming threat of the El Nino. So that's a bit of scenario analysis there. So what is actually government response? I'm drawing this from the briefer of the Department of Agriculture. For crops and fisheries, it involves prepositioning of agricultural inputs. So for instance, for rice, they have a national rice program, and then they do a lot of seed and fertilizer distribution. So they're prepositioning it. For fisheries, similarly, there's a national fisheries program, and they're also providing plenty of assistance in terms of fingerlings of tilapia, milkfish, and feeds. They do for monitoring of pests and diseases, as well as deepening of fish ponds and reinforcement of dikes in the case of fisheries. And additional preparedness measures is mapping of drought-prone areas. Which of those areas are drought-prone will be increasingly clarified or become more certain as the weeks and the months go by. And the DA is also busy even now in establishing satellite hatcheries so that they can extend more of this prepositioning in more areas. There are also some cross-cutting preparation analysis in terms of weekly field monitoring, doing information campaigns of how they can prepare for the impending El Nino, and all the more facilitating market linkages for at-risk agricultural communities and commodities. So especially in drought-prone areas, ensuring that the farmers they've already problem contending with water. If they have additional problem finding linkage traders, linkages to markets, poor farm-to-market roads, poor transport infrastructure, then as soon as possible, DA said that it will try to facilitate those market linkages. Beyond what DA is doing, so notice that DA is, of course, focused on DA related, but I think that food security is not just a DA concern. Food security is all interlinked. It's as Dr. Lionel said, an agri-food system that draws on so many other systems like the ecosystem itself. I'd like to focus on the state of the Philippines watersheds in terms of the forest cover of the country. You see, this is one of the reasons why I think the Philippines is especially unprepared for a crisis like an El Nino, because it's resource-based to deal with this kind of climate shock are at a very sadly deteriorated state. Forests should help minimize hydrometeorological hazards by providing, additional function for a watershed. However, if you look at the state of the forests, it doesn't look very good. Only 22% of the estimated land area under forest cover is classified as legally protected area, whereas the targeted benchmark worldwide is 30%. The Global Forest Watch, an independent international NGO, estimated a net decline of 0.3 million hectares of forest cover in the 20 years between 2000 to 2020. Now, I should note that government estimate is very different. The DNR's, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources Forest Management Bureau, actually estimates increase in forest cover from around the same period, 2003 to 2020, by about 58,000 hectares. And this might be lulling the DNR into complacency that, okay, we're good. No, but if you look at other estimates from satellite data, when they reevaluate their own different algorithm and methodology, they say that that's not very correct. Actually, it's a 0.3 million hectare decline. So if we believe this number, then what is it traceable to? I think it's traceable to governance failures. I'm drawing, by the way, from this particular resource, very, very useful. Legal loopholes in our forestry code and the Network of Protected Areas Act, which allows development activities inside these supposedly protected areas, mining agreements, venture agreements, dams. The rights vested prior to these protective designations. So, for example, if there's already a titled land within a protected land, cannot really stop their development activity in that titled land, such as agricultural activity. Cannot force them, say, to plant trees, right? In addition to that is the poor enforcement of existing forest laws. There's supposed to be an anti-tree cutting law and so on, but it's in the hinterlands with under-resourced department forest rangers, worse yet, subject to connivance with the supposed forest monitors. Then we see continued logging, Sweden agriculture, and other destructive activities. So what could be a critical response? Again, I'm talking about forests and watersheds, but I'm actually saying so that we will not be vulnerable to this and all future El Niños, because this is not the only El Niño that is threatening. Although this one coming is especially scary because there's a possibility that it is a super El Niño, a historic proportion, historic size or intensity of El Niño, so that we are protected from all such similar such future climate shocks. We should have a very robust watershed resources. So we have right now a national greening program. It should be reconstituted into an actual reforestation program. So the authors of that report I'm citing are very critical about the implementation of the NGP. They should be, instead, NGP should be reoriented towards restoring watersheds' ecological functions, doing an actual measurement of whether the forest cover increased, and then with the increased forest cover comes improved water storage capacities and reduced soil erosion and land degradation in these watershed areas. They mention solutions like scaling up clean alternatives to ecologically destructive development projects, and where watersheds have been severely degraded, to implement immediate watershed rehabilitation, especially to improve water quality. Again, the presence of many upland communities have actually, with improper waste disposal, have actually led to a lot of downstream water pollution that impairs water quality, and often it shows up in irrigation systems. So actually, I have a book that one of whose chapters, it was a book that won National Book Award for Policy from the National Academy of Science and Technology. It's an edited volume, and one of the chapters talked about the state of water, the status of water quality in terms of pollutants in many of the country's national irrigation systems. So it's just one highlight. No, there are many other things that we can do. We can do drought tolerant propagation of rice varieties and so on. And then other seed varieties. But let me just focus on that. It's something that I think the impending risk of drought should drive us into a crisis mode and a real solution and effective enforcement mode, so that the measures that what we're seeing, like 0.3 million hectares decline in 20 years, will finally reverse and will gain 0.5 million hectares in the next 20 years. No, unless we really start now and in the face of a motivation from a crisis or an impending crisis like this, we'll just see the sad trends that we have been seeing so far continue. I guess that's my final slide. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Briones. So from Dr. Leonel a while ago, I'm talking about the global situation, and now the challenge of the war and conflict in the region, as well as the impending impact of the El Nino phenomenon on our agricultural production, is also posing severe threats to our food production in the country. And also, thank you for highlighting also that there is hope. No, we can still reverse the possible impacts of what's going on. We just have to collectively do our actions in terms of our responsibly caring for our watershed. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Roel Briones. So a warm virtual applause for Dr. Briones. Thank you very much. Okay, friends, I've seen quite a number of messages already, both on Zoom, and my colleagues are also posting some comments from YouTube. So rest assured, we will be reading your comments and questions or clarifications after our third presentation. Thank you very much. So moving on to our third speaker. Okay? So our third speaker will talk about local food security situationer, impact and vulnerabilities on food accessibility, affordability, and nutrition. Regional Executive Director Apollo Y. Pacamalan of the Department of Agriculture Regional Field Office in Region 10 is a licensed agriculturist with over 30 years of experience in agriculture and rural development. He is widely recognized for pioneering the integrated rice duck farming system in the Philippines, an innovative and environmentally sustainable farming approach that gained international recognition. He holds a bachelor degree in agriculture from Xavier University and a master's degree in environmental management from Flinders University in Adelaide, Australia. Throughout his career, Director Pacamalan has championed organic agriculture, climate-smart farming, agricultural value chain development, and digital innovation in the agriculture sector. His outstanding contributions have earned him numerous national and international awards. He continues to lead the Department of Agriculture in Northern Mindanao and with a vision of building a resilient, competitive, and sustainable agricultural sector that improves the lives of Filipino farmers and fisher folks. My friends, let's all welcome Regional Executive Director Jose Apollo Y. Pacamalan from the regional field office of the Department of Agriculture. A warm virtual of applause for Red Apollo. I guess si Red Poloy is still on mute.
Hello, good. Yes. Hello,
Okay.
good afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, Red Poloy, you're now audible.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm sorry, we just experienced 2 brownouts in 1 hour. So I need to reconnect back. Anyway, thank you very much. No, I am going to present the local food systems in Northern Mindanao. You're looking at the impact and vulnerabilities on food accessibility, affordability, and nutrition. We are looking at how we can possibly strengthen our food system, even with the global challenges and ecological pressure. Next, please. So, to understand, Northern Mindanao is a trillion GDP. We have around 187 billion value in terms of agriculture, forestry, and fishing. Since 1995, we have registered around 494,000 farmers and 151,893 fisher folks. So we have 5 provinces. And in terms of dependency and sufficiency in basic commodities, we are only around 87% sufficiency in rice. We have oversupply in corn, and but we have oversupply in terms of the livestock and vegetable production, which we supplied in other regions of Mindanao. Next, please. We are looking at the Northern Mindanao's food security situation in terms of accessibility, affordability, and nutrition. So, in terms of accessibility, we are looking at the physical and economic access of food, affordable, whether it is the basic families can afford to buy, or whether it is affordable for a household of a size of 5. And we also have issues in terms of the nutrition, because right now in Northern Mindanao, 36 local government out of 82 is experiencing malnutrition among school-aged children. Next, please. In terms of accessibility, 43% of barangays in 2000, among 2,222 barangays in Northern Mindanao has a challenge of access to market, while government is having a farmers market, but it is not being done regularly. We are working on organizations like big cooperatives that will support, or that are supporting our program, to have a regular marketing activity, so that our farmers have access to market that allow their products to be sold. There's also a high risk among areas in Northern Mindanao, considering that we have a high population of indigenous communities, and most of these areas are considered as geographically isolated and disadvantaged, compounded by the poor access to road network. These uh, two factors has led to reduced food choices, and oftentimes monotonous diet and higher spoilage from the absence of post-harvest facility. Next, please. Let's look at affordability in terms of the daily minimum wage. Basically, uh, with the increasing cost of fertilizers and even seeds, we have a challenge of increasing production cost, with considering that the minimum wage is only around 485 pesos in the average in Northern Mindanao. This actually represents in terms of how much it costs for a family to afford to buy food products. Right now, the price of inputs has increased by 100%. For example, before the geopolitical tension between US and Iran, the price of urea is only around 1,500 pesos. Now it's already 3,500 pesos. So it increased by more than 100%, which impact on high production costs and making rice having a strong increase in terms of the availability in the market. But there's a moderate increase among highland vegetables because we have oversupply. And also, even livestock, we have a declining price of livestock, because after the impact of the ESF uh, 2 years ago, it actually wipes out the backyard swine production. But during the last 12 months, the backyard producer has started to raise their own backyard swine production, and they don't want to report it, because if they will report it, they will be penalized by government, because it's still considered as a red zone. So there is an increasing production of backyard swine that actually provides a declining impact to the price of swine products. Next, please. In terms of malnutrition, 1 out of 3 among 36 local government is experiencing stunting growth. 1 out of 5 is underweight, and 3% is experiencing wasting. What is that in terms of the nominal number? Right now, we have around 869 local government. So 36 of that is experiencing this kind of malnutrition, stunting, underweight, and wasting. Next, please. There are also there are also key vulnerabilities that drives food insecurity. So the climate change that we are experiencing really impact on the availability of water and the uncertainty of the rainy and dry season. While the forecast of Pag-asa recently about the possible super El Nino, but the data suggests here in northern Mindanao that we will be managing more of oversupply of rain because recently the Pag-asa suggests that northern Mindanao still experiencing oversupply of rain compared to other areas. So we might be managing flooding than the impact of El Nino. Um, there's also a problem of the weak supply chain. We need to strengthen our logistics and transport network in northern Mindanao so that we can provide access, among other commodities, to the different households in the region. We have a problem of the inflation, as I mentioned, in terms of the cost of input. By the way, 80%, more than 80% of our seeds right now for rice and corn is being imported from other countries. And I think this is something that we have to work with by setting up our own genetic resource conservation and repository center in northern Mindanao so that in the next 3 years, we can work on also growing our own seeds and planting materials. There's a need to, with the limited nutrition education, there's a need for us to consolidate other programs that are implementing, other line agencies in government that are implementing nutrition program. For example, this WD has a nutrition program. DOST has a nutrition program. We also have a nutrition program. All these things should be tailor-fitted to the different local government that are experiencing issues on malnutrition. Next, please. I think in terms of the climate change as a cross-cutting threat, one, while we have identified areas in northern Mindanao that even with the dry season still have precipitation, but we need to make sure that right now we are positioning our planting materials and production areas in areas where precipitations exist even with the dry season. These are mountain areas or local government that surrounds the two mountain ranges of Mount Balatukan and Mount Kitanglad. These are mountains that supports the increasing or the stability of precipitation in northern Mindanao. There is also an issue of disruptive production. I believe we need to work on uh, improving our soil health relative to our preparation for possible impact if there is really an El Nino that affects northern Mindanao. Because for us, we cannot control weather disturbances, but we can possibly control improving our soil health so that it can better respond to the drought or to long dry season. We also need to improve household food insecurity by diversifying planting of the different food crops. And the key in Northern Mindanao, as we strengthen our government program, is to ensure that beyond the monocropping, we need to produce 2, 3, 4, or more food sources and income generating activity in the household, so that we can still have food even in worst case scenario where El Nino would possibly come. Next, please. There are areas which we consider as an integrated action for food security, regardless, or if we say the El Nino is already, or even La Nina is a normal thing. One, we are working on improving accessibility for our farmers. So we are building up a road network funded by World Bank in areas that are strategic producer of rice, corn, and high value crops. We are also working on developing our own or scaling our organic fertilizer production by maximizing the use of our 1 billion population of swine, where the solid and liquid waste are just being thrown. So we are working with this swine grower so that we can utilize it to set up an integrated organic fertilizer production to support or increase the organic matter. We are looking at improving soil health by monitoring the organic matter and pH and the chemical and biological properties in the next 3 years, in partnership with academic institutions, so that we have a goal of making our soil habitable for microorganisms to provide us with the basic indicators for growing or maximizing nutrition program. Government institutions that are traditionally implementing programs in a silo. Next, please. In a conclusion, there is a non-negotiable thing that that our region have already started, but we need this to be implemented nationally, is we need to set up our own agriculture information system that is close to real time. If we need to uh, if you need to have traceable data for planning and decision making. Right now, when we do planning, we are so much dependent to the data from PSA, where it is 2 or 1 year old data. So right now we need to make sure that we know exactly what the farmers are planting, who are planting, and where is it located during the time when it is being planted, so that we can plan for logistics, transport facilities, and cold storage, and even providing marketing through a business to business transaction. We need to work stronger. We need to strengthen our work with other line agency. For example, DTI is an agriculture program, DE is implementing agriculture program, DOST has agriculture program, TESDA has agriculture program. These are line agencies that sometimes don't talk to each other in terms of planning, in terms of synchronizing our target. So I think the best option for us is to start it at the regional level, because we can easily talk, we can easily decide, so that it will, in the future, it will create policy that requires nationally driven program in agriculture to have a common goal and platform to create impact on sustaining our food production, at the same time improving the soil that provides the productive capacity of our land. Something that we missed up. I mean, this is my third year working in government. We have so many things to do. We have so many silo system that we need to link. Even with in our Department of Agriculture, we are challenged to make sure that all programs are not being implemented in silo. We are also challenged with the fact that local government is a devolved agriculture is a devolved function to the local government. To put it into context, while the national government is implementing the agriculture program through our Department of Agriculture, but we have the provincial agriculture program where the provincial agriculturist reports to the governor, and we have the municipal agriculture that reports to the mayor. So we need to make sure that this local government will be accountable to the national target of the Department of Agriculture, and you have to make sure that as we do the plan, it reflects the competitive and comparative advantage of the different local government units, so that our plan is their plan and their plan is our plan. I think that's all, and thank you very much. And sorry for the brownouts that we have experienced here in Bukidnon.
Daghang salamat, Red Pakamalan. So, yeah, we just heard our three presenters, no? First, we have from Dr. Lionel giving us the global perspective, issues and concerns affecting agri-food systems. And we've heard also from Dr. Briones talking about Asia and the Philippines in particular. And then now we heard from our regional office, from Red Pakamalan. And then it made me realize from the three presenters na may pag-asa pa. There's hope. No? And thank you very much. No, I'm not personally, we can still do something to reverse the situation. We still can put food on the table for every Filipino family, and I hope everyone is agreeing me on that. And very much, thank you very much, Red Apollo. So one virtual applause for Red Apollo Pakamalan for putting into local perspective and calling everyone's action to work together. Okay, thank you very much, Lloyd. So, as saying there's hope, may pag-asa pa. The food security, food systems, and even the talks on addressing hunger and malnutrition. Okay, so we have several youth groups, our partners on the ground. We have three react and oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Angel. So I was
Muted.
okay, where was I? Okay, once again, thank you very much, Red Apollo Pakamalan, for putting a local perspective on the situation. And as I was saying, I don't know if I don't know if I was still on air at that time when I said that there's still hope, no? There's still hope. So, translating this hope into action, we have young organizations, three young organizations who would like also to share their reaction on the current situations we are facing right now. First, we have from Pangantukan Community High School, food security starts with knowledge, action, and community. The students of Pangantukan Community High School in Bukidnon, in partnership with Xavier Science Foundation, are leading initiatives that strengthen sustainable food systems, guided by the wisdom of indigenous women and rooted in a shared commitment to a more food-secure future. Our next reel is coming from Ecoteneo Student Unit of Ateneo de Davao University. Ecoteneo Student Unit is an environmental department under Samahan, the student government of Ateneo de University, committed to championing ecological justice and student-led action for the planet. Inspired by the Jesuit call to care for our common home, ESU serves as a space where advocacy takes root and where compassion is transformed into concrete initiatives. And lastly, we have another youth organization from the Blue Harvest Farmers Market of Ateneo de Manila University. It's an initiative that highlights the harvest of partner organic farming communities by bringing their fresh seasonal produce directly to Ateneo community. Held twice a semester, the event creates a space where farmers can sell their goods without relying on the usual chain of middlemen. In the effort to bridge cultural divide and cultivate unity, Blue Harvest has curated a series of agriculture talks. These gatherings are designed to inspire meaningful dialogue, deepen mutual understanding, and foster a shared spirit of solidarity. Ultimately, Blue Harvest strengthens community partnerships, encourages conscious consumption, and to a more equitable farm-to-market system by deepening the community relationship with the farmers. So friends, a virtual round of applause for Pangantukan Community High School, Ecoteneo Student Unit, and the Blue Harvest Market of Ateneo de Manila University.
Dakong tabang ang mga indigenous women sa pagpaambit o paggamit sa organic fertilizer, pagtanom o pag-amping sa kinaiyahan.
Nakatabang ang school garden sa food security kay ginatudluan ng mga estudyante kung unsa ang pagtanom og mga healthy vegetables. Kay kung kabalo na sila magtanom, mas dako ang chance na makakaon sila fresh and healthy food.
Importante ang traditional practices, kay kini sayon praktikal ug makatabang sa kinaiyahan. Igamit ni sa una pa ug nakatabang sa daghang mga komunidad.
Ang sarap kumain ng saging. Diba? Pero napag-isipan mo na ba ang journey kung paano ito dumating sa'yo at saan ito pupunta pagkatapos mong kainin? Well, tara! Para malaman natin, talakayin natin ang food systems. Ang food system ay ang buong life cycle ng pagkain mula sa buong biyahe nito, mula sa pinanggalingan hanggat sa tamang pagtapon. First, production. Second, processing and packaging. Third, distribution. Fourth, consumption. At fifth naman ay waste management. First, First, tayo ay magsisimula sa production. Dito nag-uumpisa ang lahat mula sa pagtatanim, pag-aalaga ng mga hayop o ang pangingisda. Ang kalidad naman nito ay nakadepende sa kalusugan ng ating mga natural na kayamanan tulad ng magandang kalidad ng lupa, sapat na tubig, ang panahon o ang klima. Sunod dito ang processing and packaging. Dahil di naman na magsasaka, fishermen at producers papunta sa mga palengke. At sa wakas, nandito na tayo sa ating favorite part, ang consumption. Ito na ang bahagi natin bilang consumers. Dito pumapasok ang affordability. Kaya ba ng budget? At ang accessibility. Madali ba itong mabili o mahanap? Pero higit sa lahat, mahalaga rin ang nutrition o ang sustansyang nakukuha natin sa ating pagkain. Ang sarap nun! Pero alam niyo ba na halos 1/3 ng pagkain sa buong mundo ay nasasayang o natatapon lang? Well, sa isang modernong food system, napakahalaga ng tamang pag-manage ng food waste. Ito ay kung saan papasok ang pag-practice natin ng circular economy. Ano nga ba ang circular economy? Ang circular economy ay isang konsepto na naglalayong bawasan ang pagkonsumo at pag-aaksaya ng resources. Sa halip na take, make, consume, throw away, binibigyan nito ng panibagong gamit ang mga itinuturing na basura. Balikan natin ang saging. Halos walang nasasayang dito. Ang balat ay pwedeng gawing compost, fertilizer o pagkain sa hayop. Samantala, ang stem at dahon nito ay maaaring gawing papel, tela o pambalot ng pagkain. Galing, di ba? Sa ganitong paraan, ang simpleng saging ay nagpapakita kung paano natin mapapalitan ang linear food system ng isang mas sustainable at tuloy-tuloy na siklo ng paggamit ng mga resources. Well, sana may natutunan kayo tungkol sa food systems dahil sa video na ito. Hanggat sa muli!
Para sa mga magsasaka tulad ni Ate Rowena, Ate Riza at Ate Irene, ang makabenta lang ng kanilang ani ay tila isa ng pakikipagsapalaran. Kakulangan sa farm-to-market roads at diligtas na kondisyon sa kanilang mga probinsya ang tumutulak sa kanila na umasa sa mga trader kahit na minsan lugi na. Sa alang-alang nitong problema ay sinimulan natin ang Blue Harvest Farmers Market, isang proyektong naglalayong magbigay boses at koneksyon sa mga magsasaka dito sa Ateneo. Sa loob ng proyektong ito ay nagsasagawa tayo ng mga bagsakan market kung saan direktang nakabebenta ang ating mga partner farmers dito sa mga staff at mag-aaral ng Ateneo. Sa nakaraang taon ay nakasama na natin ang mga kooperatiba mula sa San Jose del Monte, Bulacan at Antipolo, Rizal at tuwang-tuwa naman sila sa lakas ng paninda. Pati kapwa Atenista ay nagagalak makabili ng kalidad na gulay mula sa ating mga nanay. Maliban sa bagsakan, nagkakaroon din tayo ng mga agri-talk kasama ng mga advocates sa mga social enterprises na nagtataguyod din ng agricultural sector ng Pilipinas. Mga kapwa estudyante din ang nangangasiwa sa Blue Harvest Farmers Market sa tulong ng Department of Economics at Office for Social Concern and Involvement. Dahil dito ay nagsisilbing pagkakataon ang programa upang mas maliwanagan pa ang mga Atenista sa kalagayan ng agrikultura sa bansa. Naman maikakailang napakayaman sa ngiti, pakikisama at pagkakataon ang Blue Harvest Farmers Market kung kaya't halina't sumuporta, makiusap at makisama para't lagi sa ating mga magsasaka.
Thank you very much to our students from Pangantukan Community High School, from Ateneo Student Unit in Ateneo de Davao University, and from the Blue Harvest Farmers Market of Ateneo de Manila University. So for this moment, let's hear also a reaction coming from the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth Philippines, Mr. Raymond Paul Rigor. Paul is a graduate student under the Master of Science in Conservation and Restoration Ecology program of the University of the Philippines in Baguio. His research interest focus on biodiversity, ecology, and indigenous knowledge systems, and practices related to conservation and restoration. They are also an advocate of the Sustainable Development Goals, actively engaged with the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines and the Sigaw ng Kabataan Coalition, the latter of which holds membership in both SDSN and the Climate Action Network. Personally, he is currently serving as a science research specialist at the Department of Science and Technology at the Cordillera Administrative Region. So let's hear a reaction from Raymark Paul Rigor. Warm virtual applause for Raymark.
To be a co-host, I'm just gonna quickly share my screen. Thank you. Is my screen visible po?
Yes, Paul, it is visible.
Thank you so much po. So, mapod ang algo, naimbag na aldaw. Good day, isang makaagham, makakalikasan at mapagpalayang araw po sa lahat. So first, I would like to thank the organizers for this enriching webinar session. Also to the presenters for providing a comprehensive discussion on how global dynamics are reshaping food and agricultural systems. All presentations offered complementary perspectives. Dr. Briones highlighted the Philippine implications of global disruptions and climate risks. R.E.D. Pakamalan gave us the important details on the local setting and context of food security, and Dr. Dabadi expanded the discussion by situating these challenges within the broader Asian and global agri-food systems agenda. They reinforced that achieving SDG2 requires moving beyond increasing food production towards building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable food systems. So hi again, I am Paul, a son of a farmer and a Filipino youth, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be a reactor for this webinar. Now, what we know from the presentations that achieving SDG2 requires moving beyond increasing food production towards building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable food systems. Food security is now a systems issue. It includes global conflicts, energy prices, fertilizer costs, logistic disruptions, climate variability, and ecological degradation, which are all interconnected risks that collectively influence food availability, affordability, and nutrition. So the system's perspective is highly relevant to the Philippines, where agriculture remains vulnerable to typhoons, the El Nino and La Nina phenomena, watershed degradation, and external market shocks. So rather than responding only after crisis occur, the challenge is strengthening resilience before disruptions become emergencies. And all this that's happening, the Philippines has already begun responding. So the government has initiatives such as climate adaptation programs, agricultural modernization efforts, market interventions, and investments in value chains. Likewise, organizations such as FAO, universities, civil society organizations, farmers organizations, and development partners continue supporting sustainable agriculture, capacity building, nutrition-sensitive programs, and climate resilience. These collective efforts demonstrate that food security is not the responsibility of a single institution. It requires collaboration across sectors, and it must also be accessible, affordable, and nutritious for the people. From everything we have heard, now what needs to be addressed? So despite these encouraging initiatives, several challenges remain. First, smallholder farmers and fisherfolk continue facing limited access to resources such as financing, technology, extension services, markets, and climate-resilient infrastructure. Alongside these, the varying Philippine geography also poses threats and challenges for a food-secured nation. Next, ecological concerns including watershed degradation, declining soil quality, biodiversity loss, and increasing climate-related disasters also threaten long-term agricultural productivity and household food security. Third, fair and just pricing for crops produced by local farmers. While increasing agricultural productivity is important, food systems cannot be considered resilient if producers continue to receive prices that do not adequately cover production costs or provide sustainable livelihoods. Remove the middleman, increase farmer visibility, and ensure that prices are humane. Lastly, the presentations remind us that achieving SDG2 is not simply about producing more food. It is equally about ensuring that healthy, affordable, accessible, and sustainable food for every Filipino actually exists. Now, the insights I want to share. As someone working in the S&T sector, one important takeaway is that evidence-based decision-making must remain at the center of agri-food systems transformation. Research, innovation, digital technologies. So we need this to ensure that there is also partnership between government, academia, and local communities, which are essential in helping farmers and fisherfolk adapt to increasingly complex challenges. Science should not only generate knowledge, but also translate that knowledge into practical solutions that improve livelihoods and strengthen food security. Through the lens of a youth volunteer and a community worker, I am reminded that resilient agri-food systems are ultimately built within communities. While national policies and international partnerships provide framework, their success depends on how effectively they reach farmers, fisherfolk, indigenous peoples, women, and the youth at the grassroots level. Young people are not only future beneficiaries of food systems, but also active partners in promoting sustainable agriculture, climate action, nutrition education, and community resilience. By creating more opportunities for youth participation in local planning, innovation, and volunteerism, we can cultivate a generation that values food security not only as a development goal, but as a shared responsibility. This reinforces the idea that achieving SDG2 begins with empowered communities working together toward sustainable and resilient local food systems. With the realizations that I have presented and the presentations we have heard from our experts, now let the youth ask the points of discussion which can be answered after this or maybe pondered by our presenters. First, how can we better engage young people, not only as beneficiaries, but as co-creators of solutions in building resilient agri-food systems within their communities? Next, what strategies can strengthen partnerships between government agencies, academic institutions, NGOs, and youth-led organizations to ensure these local efforts contribute to meaningfully to national SDG2 targets? Given the importance of evidence-based policy making, how can local knowledge and the experiences of farming and indigenous communities be better integrated into research, policy development, and investment decisions? To our presenters, let me give you these questions, which again can be discussed right away or maybe after some time. But yeah, for Dr. Briones, considering the increasing frequency of climate shocks, which policy interventions should the Philippines prioritize over the next 5 years to strengthen food systems resilience? For Dr. Dabadi, FAO emphasizes agri-food systems transformation through investment and partnerships. How can local governments, academic institutions, and organizations become more active partners in translating these global frameworks into community-level action? Lastly, for Red Pakamalan, from the government's perspective, how does the DA address the concerns of local farmers regarding agricultural importation and farm gate pricing? In some instances, certain crops experience oversupply, resulting in unsold produce or even food waste. Yet the country continues to import similar commodities. What mechanisms are in place to better align importation policies with domestic production and market conditions, while ensuring fair prices and sustainable livelihoods for Filipino farmers? I hope that these questions and these discussions give us another perspective of how SDG2 must be addressed and how we can achieve the targets of SDG2 in the Philippines. Final realizations from a youth that these presentations reminds us that resilience is no longer optional. It is the foundation of food security. Achieving SDG2 will require sustained investments in science, innovation, environmental stewardship, including financing, and multi-sectoral collaboration. More importantly, it calls for proactive action today so that future crises become challenges we are prepared for, rather than emergencies we struggle to overcome. Again, we hope from the youth perspective that the discussions today will not remain just discussions online, but translate to actions on the ground, either policies or movements or even researches that will be beneficial for our farmers and our communities. Again, nagyaman ako launay, salamat, thank you very much. And as the SDGs battle cry, let us leave no harm behind. Thank you so much po.
Maraming salamat, Paul. Indeed, when a young person talks about addressing food security, it's always very powerful because we feel that the future is actually depending also on the hands of the youth and all with the proper guidance from us, the adults, no? I guess we have so much responsibility on our hands. And as we mentioned, as Dr. Briones mentioned a while ago, may pag-asa pa. There's hope. So thank you very much and a warm virtual applause for Paul. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Now we have quite a number of questions in our chat box and my colleagues are actually trying to put it together. But for the meantime, let's request Red Apollo Pakamalan and Dr. Dabadi and Dr. Briones to be pinned back. We have 3 major questions coming from our youth reactor. First question for Dr. Briones. Considering the increasing frequency of climate shocks, which policy intervention should the Philippines prioritize over the next 5 years to strengthen food system resilience? And then for Dr. Dabadi, FAO emphasized agri-food systems transformation through investment and partnerships. How can local government, academic institutions, and organizations become more active partners in translating these goals, this global framework, into community-level action? And lastly, for Red Pakamalan, from the government's perspective, how does the Department of Agriculture address concerns of local farmers regarding agricultural importation and farm gate pricing? In some instances, certain crops experience oversupply, resulting in unsold produce or even food waste. Yet the country continues to import similar commodities. What mechanisms are in place to better align importation policies with domestic production and market conditions while ensuring fair prices and sustainable livelihoods for Filipino farmers. So, who'd like to go first?
Yeah, maybe I can go first.
Okay, Dr. Briones. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, actually, so I already telegraphed what I think is a policy priority, which is forest protection and watershed rehabilitation, no? In the face of looming climate threats. I would like to also plug for the general context, I think, for this kind of more serious and aggressive management approach under the rubric of ridge to reef ecosystem management. A natural resource system, which is a unit of management, is actually an entire river basin, which might have a network of watersheds, tracing it all the way down to the coastal area. And this whole unit, this should be seen as a management unit with protection and rehabilitation measures across the board, no, all the way from the mountain ridge, as it were, all the way down to the coral reef, or actually the coastal area. Now, this has proven to be very complex to do in the Philippine setting, which is fond of very fractured approaches. The BIFAR is doing one thing, DNR is doing another thing, and then the NIA and the DA is doing something else. But I think we have to make a start towards this. The other pitch I want to make as a policy priority, and I think DA Red will agree with this, is improvement in soil health. I didn't really have time to talk about it in my main presentation, but DA is pushing for balanced fertilization strategy. So it's organic agriculture does have its place, especially for that segment of market demand. But by and large, for the mainstream agricultural production, what we need is a more balanced fertilization strategy. If there's imminent scarcity or growing expense of fertilizers, there's a large scope for replacing a lot of that, not totally, but on a science-based basis, with organic-based fertilizers, biofertilizers, and the like. So a lot of our farmer organizations and extension workers should begin to increasingly adopt this kind of balanced fertilization strategy in farmer field schools and other trainings, farmer trainings. Of course, the scientific basis for this should also be maintained. No, the soil should be properly characterized. So the farmer should do all of these soil tests. Go through the time and expense, do the soil test so that you can have a scientific approach towards applying the right mix of fertilizers, whether chemical or organic. And that will be a great measure towards long-term health of the farming system. And that is another proven method for a more climate resilient agriculture.
Thank you very much, Dr. Briones. Paul, I hope the question was answered. I'm very sure that Dr. Briones even added a lot of strategic way forward on how we can really reverse the situation.
So, thank you so much po. And to Dr. Dion, I would just like to give highlight the his approach and as regarding student psychology. This is very important in the discussion on how we can actually address some of the climate issues we're facing right now. That's just it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. And I'm sure SDSN now is thinking about mechanism on how to localize these priority areas, especially what our youth can do to move forward. Okay, second question for Dr. Dabadi. Dr.
Yes.
Lionel.
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me congratulate.
Recording in progress.
Okay, recording in progress. So I have to be careful what I say now. No, just my congratulations to Dr. Briones and Director Pacamalan, because it was very great presentations. I'm not surprised by Dr. Briones because I'm an avid reader of his publications, and I noted that you have some new publications that I need to think. Also, great videos by the students. So let me go to the questions. It's really about how to make the people work together, and I think that's really a key question. But that's where the system approach. I think Paul mentioned very well that now we have to go into system approach. Systems. When we talk about systems, it means that we are working not just on the black box on each component of what is the food production, but on the interactions. The local governments, they are the ones who are on the direct contact with the farmers. They are all the time with the farmers. They know better. There are also a very particular role in the Philippines because we know with the devolutions that they have resources. There is a lot of resources, and unfortunately, there is also a lot of resources that are not being used for supporting the farmer. Academic institution. I have been a scientist for almost 30 years, so definitely that's the role. For FAO, we clearly consider that the work and the development cannot be achieved without the research and all the knowledge. We know that now for the very first time in FAO we have a chief scientist. So definitely all those stakeholders are essential, but how can we make them work together? That's really the question. And I think that's where we can have a role as FAO, as a convener. Example, to be very pragmatic. We know I mentioned about the LGUs, and we know that there is a lot of resources that are available at the LGU level because of the devolutions, because of the Gasha Mandana ruling. And those resources are not always used. There are resources for gender. There are resources for nutrition. There is a lot of resources also for agriculture, and they are not used. So we have right now we have a project which we are implementing with other agencies, and we build the capacities of the LGUs to make use of their resources to invest in their local communities. One example is the public procurement. In other countries like Brazil, we know that school feeding or also hospital or all those kind of things can provide an institutional market, which can be essential not only in terms of offering a marketing opportunity for the producers, but also for raising the profile, for raising the quality of the products. So typically, we are helping them to make a better use of the system. And there is a lot of capacity building, but also we need to reach out. I would say it's the same for all the other partners. You mentioned about the academic institutions. Definitely, we need to bring the academic institutions with this idea that it should really be. It's not research and development; it's research for development, and see how we can really, it's not necessarily the role of the scientists or the academic institutions to make their finding and their knowledge accessible to the farmers. But you need to have someone who translate the knowledge from the academy into something that is useful for the development. And that's where also something that is very important. And I don't want to go into too much into detail, but there are many sociologists, the sociologists of innovations. They have demonstrated that for an invention to become an innovation, for an invention to be adopted by the people, definitely the key factor is the person who is capable to make the link between the laboratory and the productive and the development stakeholders. And we could extend. We have not discussed so much, but private sector is also a sector that can be playing a role. And definitely all the time, this role of the convener or the intermediate between the stakeholders and the one who brings everybody together is very, very important. FAO can play this role, but I think we are not the only ones, and other agencies can play this role. I hope I answered a little bit the question. Thank you. I think you are muted, but it's
Okay, sorry. I was muted again. All right. So, thank you very
Recording
much,
stopped.
Dr. Lionel. No? And emphasizing also the value of collaboration at the community level. Okay, can we proceed to the question addressed for Red Pakamalan? Red Apollo? Is Director Pakamalan still in the room? Okay, let's go back to him later. I believe he's still in Bukidnon, wherein he mentioned a while ago that the internet connection is a bit erratic. So we have another question coming from our audience. For Dr. Briones, President Marcos recently signed Executive Order number 16, increasing the minimum access volume for pork imports from 54,210 metric tons to 204,210 metric tons to help stabilize supply and prices. While this may benefit consumers, many local hog raisers fear that increased importation could further weaken the domestic hog industry. How does the government plan to balance the goal of keeping pork prices affordable while protecting the livelihood and long-term competitiveness of Filipino hog farmers?
Thanks for that question.
Dr. Briones?
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, very audible.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. That increase affect. So just to describe how that minimum access volume works, no, there are lots of misconceptions about how that system works. So you have two tiers of tariffs. There's a 15% applied tariff. We call it the most favored nation tariff rate outside of the minimum access. But then there's a minimum access. Previously, it was 50,000 that it was increased, no? Where the tariff rate is lower. I believe the in-quota tariff rate is 5%. So that means there are two tiers of tariff. The first, say, 50 or now it's 250,000 tons pays that low tariff. And then the excess imports beyond that, the out-quota tariff, as described, will pay the regular rate. So actually, there are no implications for importation behavior of this increase, as long as the total imports, kusa, no, naturally being imported, is in excess. And using the latest statistics, that's indeed the case. If I'm not mistaken, the more recent trends is we're importing a lot more than what is in the minimum access volume. Of course, it's different if we're importing less than that. But if we're importing more than that, actually it doesn't affect import behavior. What happens is the favored group of traders who are able to access at a lower quota, they're the ones who want to lobby to be able to pay a lower tariff rate. So the real worry for farmers, for pork producers or swine raisers, is if the tariff is the minimum, the most favored nation tariff is the one that is reduced, which is already a little bit low. I think it's around 15%, if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked. So now the bigger question is, how do we boost competitiveness of this industry? That's a $1 million question. Probably I have a very unpopular answer that we really need to get biosecurity under control under more consolidated farming systems. It's very difficult to maintain biosecurity. So right now, the sector is still reeling from the devastation of the African swine fever. And if you have a lot of scattered backyard operations, it's really difficult to control the spread of this. So if you can have more production in commercial size farms where you have better biosecurity measures, or even if the backyard rice raisers were confined, in certain zoned areas, so that within this zoned area, the inspectors will be able to better monitor. So not all the barangays, rural barangays in a municipality are authorized, for example, to have backyard racers, but only these set of barangays that we can really do some enforceable biosecurity measures. These are unpopular. There are a lot of backyard racers that might be affected by this, but hey, look, the sector's been devastated for 7 years running, and we really need to take some serious measures, even though it's painful for some.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruel Briones. So though it's painful, but still we are on track for this one. So last question. Now we have one last question from our participants, no, from the for Dr. Lionel. What opportunities exist for young people to contribute to strengthening local food systems? I do believe this question is very timely, as a lot of our viewers also here are coming from the youth sector. Dr. Lionel, your thoughts on this one?
Sorry, can you repeat the questions about the youth?
The question was, what opportunities exist, or what can the young people do to contribute strengthening local food systems?
Okay, thank you. Sorry. No, I think it is no secrets that we have a major concern, which is that the agriculture is not attractive for the youth today, and we want to change this, because there is no point. I mentioned in my presentations the Ifugao rice terraces. And I mentioned that without farmers, there will be no rice terraces. But in fact, I'm more than just mentioning that if there is no more farmer, there will be no rice terraces. The last time I was in the Ifugao in Umduan, I met with a group of farmers, and their average age was 68, and they were telling me that their children were leaving the rice terraces because they didn't see any future for them. For me, this is really a concern. I believe that agriculture, well done, can be a very attractive sector for the youth, because I have the feeling, but of course, even though I wish I were still part of the youth, I have to admit I'm already a little bit outside of the upper border. But I believe it's true, because it's responding to many of the expectations of the youngest generations today, in terms of autonomy, in terms of high technology. We're talking a lot about AI. We're talking about drones. We are talking about environment, and we know that the new generation is particularly concerned about environment, ecology, etc. So I think that the way they can do it is help us with their understanding of the expectations of their generations, with their understanding of what could be a decent work for a modern, youth-friendly agriculture sector to help us. I would say definitely the best way, in my opinion, they can contribute is by helping us understand how to make agriculture attractive again for the youth. Thank you.
Wow. Dr. Lionel, no, I so agree with you that we are going to, all of us at the various agriculture sector, have also a challenge to making agriculture attractive to our young people. As we're saying, also we recognize that agriculture is the backbone of our economy. So I hope our youth are also listening to that one. Going back to agriculture and making food is ready. So at this time, I guess we are all ready to hear the synthesis. There's so many been discussed this afternoon from our presenters to our reactors. and at the same time from our video reels coming from our youth organization. So let's all welcome Dr. Edgardo T. Valenzuela from Ateneo de Manila University, and at the same time, the convener for the SDG2 Working Group. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, warm virtual applause for Dr. Ed Valenzuela.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. I'm glad that we've had this webinar, which is very interesting because we're trying to see where we can see as a kind of a new starting point, no? After all the conflicts we've seen globally, regionally, and what's happening around us, and trying to bring that down closer to home. No? Thanks to Dr. Lionel Dabadi for giving us a very good overview and also trying to focus us on agri-food. No? I think this is very important for us because food security and food systems, I think, should be like the driving agenda for the future. No? We know we need to do this if we want to be able to feed our people. No? With the limited land resource base, we heard that already. So we have to find ways within already existing systems how we can improve the research. No? We know that we also heard Dr. Briones say that it is very important to improve this agricultural research because that's going to be what will carry us into the future. We're not investing enough resources in research, unfortunately. Our budget will, our government budget will show that. No? Very, very low attribution to agri-research. And also the importance of being able to see how, what Dr. Dabadi just mentioned, how technology can be used, no? in new ways, no? Probably because, as we said, to attract more young people to go into agriculture, they need not necessarily be in the field, no? They could be managing drones, they could be working on information systems, no? Red Apollo mentioned the importance for having real-time agri-information systems locally to be able to be used for planning, for data input, to be able to understand the situation in real time. No? So there are many things that can still be done. No? And so definitely the role of smart agriculture, as we call it today. In some countries, we can already see them implementing agriculture 4.0, as in, let's say, Vietnam or in Thailand. No? And we have to be, we're always playing catch up as Philippines. No? So there's really scope there. One thing also that both Dr. Dabadi and Dr. Briones mentioned in the beginning was the importance of the soil. No? If you remember, also, of course, also Red Apollo, because the importance of soil, no, as a starting point. No? If we want to grow food, we have to have good soil, because poor soil will not yield as much or as we want. No? And this we can only really do by regenerating the soil, no? with good or better agri-ecological practices. No? You know, we have to be able to nurture the soil in such a way that both, as was mentioned in the presentations, some might want to take the organic route, some might take maybe still using chemical fertilizer and so on, but still to be able to see what can be maximized. No? And of course, it's not limited to the soil; it's also seeds and related other practices, no? that can be that can boost what we call in our terminology nature positive production, diba? So we're saying that's another key area, no? So of course, in the first presentation we saw the importance of investments, no? And I also saw in the chat box, I believe, the question was raised about crop insurance. No? Definitely, if we look at the history of crop insurance in the Philippines, there's a lot of scope for improvement and of growth, no, in that sector. But it's really going to be a big challenge because in a country where we have at least 20 natural disasters every year, only government can invest, I would think, in agro insurance, no? Because no private sector group will take this on. No, it's going to be financial suicide for them. Having said that, there is scope to be able to. We have already, through the Agricultural Credit Policy Council, there are specific programs that target some of these, but perhaps the scope and the coverage can still be improved and widened. No? Two other things I'd like to mention is all of us have been talking about the importance of dialogue and collaboration and bringing everybody to the table. That's important, no? But what has really to be fixed there, I think, is to be able to bring that from concept to reality. Because the execution, the implementation, the coordination, the management of that kind of an approach is critical, no? To be able to do things efficiently and effectively. There are good examples, no doubt, no? If we look at Brazil, for example, the Conseja that they have for food security works. And that kind of council is maybe something that we can really study and see what are the good points there and that can be brought down locally, and be done. Then the other thing linked to that, which is I think partly a governance issue, is the issue of how can national government agencies be able to devolve or to involve the LGUs systematically so that the targets are aligned. No? Not only the targets, but also the impact, the effects. No? Because sometimes, as Red Apollo mentioned, the reporting systems are not necessarily aligned. No? So that's where the problem begins. No? Anyway, these are some of the key points I'd like to mention, and of course investments. No? At the end, we can see that if there's resources are available there through the ADB, which probably private sector and public sector will take advantage of. There should be some scope also maybe for NGOs and other civil society organizations to also be able to access some of those resources. No? Or perhaps maybe a grant window can be opened so that it can encourage or stimulate further in that direction of building food security and food systems. I think I'd like to end on that note, and I'd like to thank all the three resource persons and our reactor and the reels that we saw from the students, from the different locations, which were, I think, very encouraging. It's a good start, and we hope to have more of that. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Sir Ed. I guess you can continue with the awarding of the e-certificates.
I have to do it. Okay. All right. Sige, I'll do it in behalf of our working group, since I'm one of the conveners for this working group. We'd like to award these certificates to our resource persons and our reactor. First one is presented to Dr. Lionel M. Dabadi for your contribution to this webinar. Maybe I should just read the citation. So, for his invaluable contribution as resource speaker, delivering the presentation at this on this theme during today's webinar, strengthening food systems amid global conflict and ecological pressures, given this 8th day of July 2026 via Zoom, signed by myself and my co-coordinator, Ms. Gail De La Riva from Xavier U. Thank you very much, Dr. Dabadi. The next certificate is awarded to Dr. Rolando M. Briones. We'd like to thank Dr. Briones particularly, since he has been with us from the beginning of this webinar series. I should mention the first one we held was in April 2021, in the lead up to the first to the UN Food System Summit, which was held in September 2021. And the SDG2 working group was organized the first ever webinar for the Philippines. In fact, we had the UN Food System Secretariat. We had 2 speakers from the Secretariat at that time, and Dr. Briones also was one of our 5 major inputs during that period. So thank you very much, Dr. Roel Briones, for this. So I think I don't have to read the citation again because the words are all the same. So maraming salamat po, and I hope we continue to keep engaged with this topic. Thank you, Roel. Can we have the next? Dr. Red Apollo Pacamalan. Again, the regional director is not new to this webinar series. I believe this is his probably his third appearance over the last 5-6 years. We must have organized more than 30 webinars, and this is probably his third appearance in this webinar series. But today he comes with more authority, as he is now the regional director for the Department of Agriculture. So Dr. Red Apollo, thank you very much. Next time we're in Cagayan de Oro, we'll drop by your nice new office near the airport, and we'll have a good chat. Maraming salamat po. And then I'd like also to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Raymark Paul Rigor for his contribution and insights. It was very useful in that seminar, in your inputs, and also the thoughtful questions you have raised. And it's very good that you are here representing the SDSN Youth Network, because we really think webinars like this are you're going to be the real beneficiaries over time. These issues, these ideas, they take time to percolate and get internalized. And hopefully some of you, or many of you in this webinar today, we have had about 100 people, will consider careers in agriculture, and help in modernize Philippine agriculture as we go on. In the next 5-10 years, we know that a lot of work has to be done in our Philippine agriculture, and we need people who will do it. Otherwise, how will we feed ourselves? Thank you very much, Raymark, and maraming salamat sa inyo. Okay. Then we'd like to also present the certificates to those who assisted in preparing the reels. The first one is Xavier Science Foundation for the reels they did in Bukidnon. We appreciate very much the effort and the time that has been given to preparing the reels. So first, the Xavier Science Foundation. The next one to Pangantukan Community High School, which we had the opportunity to visit last year, and hope the school and the students there continue to thrive and focus really on what the Bukidnon needs to be able to become a real agricultural community. The next one is to the Ateneo Student Unit from Ateneo de Davao University. This group has really been very vibrant. They're very active also, and they've been involved in previous webinars over the years, and we really appreciate their inputs and their efforts. We liked your reel that you presented today. Maraming salamat po. And then the other one is from the Blue Heart Farmers Market from Ateneo de Manila University. This is promoted by the Ateneo Economic Society, where I'm also part of the economics department actually in Ateneo. And the Office for Social Concern and Involvement from Ateneo. Thank you very much for preparing this reel, which shows what can be done by students, no, on the ground. Salamat po. I believe that's the last of the certificates. So we'll just encourage everyone, for those who are still here, please fill out the evaluation form. And for those who need e-certificates, this evaluation form is necessary so that you can put your email address and you can receive your e-certificate, no, to certify that you actually attended this forum. So please fill that in or copy this QR code or link to this form, and please submit it once you're done. Was there anything else?
Thank you very much, Doc Ed. Yeah. Maraming salamat po, no, for taking the lead also in providing synthesis and the ways forward, as well as the reading of the e-certificates. So as mentioned, please fill up the evaluation forms. The QR code was, can we go back to the QR code, please? Okay. Fill up the evaluation form, and e-certificates will be provided after submitting the evaluation form. And for those who can't fill this up right now, kindly take a picture of this QR code, and you can fill up the evaluation form later. So at this point, announcements. What to look forward, Sir Ed? Mukhang may bagong schedule na tayo for the next webinar. What to look forward? Save the date. Okay, so our next webinar will be this coming September 9, 2026. And the next one, the fourth for this year, is October 28, 2026. So please block this on your calendar. We'll be providing more details as to the specific topics that we will be discussing with you for these dates. Do you have any additional announcements, Sir Ed?
Well, for webinar number 3, this will be anchored by Ateneo de Davao University. And hopefully for webinar 4, we're asking the Father Leoni Mission Foundation to anchor for the last webinar for the year, which hopefully will focus on indigenous communities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I guess you can follow also and subscribe to our FB page, Food Systems Community Dialogues, updates about the webinars and updates also, and even articles on food systems. The advocacy for SDG2 realization are actually posted on the FB page. So kindly take a picture of this and follow us. Okay. Comms team, let's do the group photo, inviting everyone to open their camera. Okay, I guess, Sir Ed, it's the team leading in the picture taking. Okay po. Okay. For those taking the picture, please tell us. Hindi mangangawit yung aming mga sa pakaka-smile. They're inviting other people also. Their camera. Love faces.
Are we good?
Okay. Are we good? Captured na po ba lahat? All right. So I guess we are good, Sir Ed.
Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you had it was a fruitful afternoon, and hope we are full of ideas and raring to go. No? This is something that we have to look into today and up to the next 10, 20 years. You can build your careers around food security and food systems development. Remember that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, and a pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much at mabuhay po tayong lahat.